I'm delayed in ticking people off today, aren't I? 20 movies that disappointed me the most. So in the fallout of yesterday's, I did the best Canadian shows. Um, let's see how today's goes, shall we? Number 20. And I can't see anyone having an issue with this one. I really can't. Spider-Man 3. Now, what's interesting is Sam Raimi had a story he wanted to do about the Vulture. The Vulture's in Amazing Spider-Man. You know, the one that did really, really well. And the studio came back with no, people don't want to see the Vulture. I could put up here the amount of money made by Amazing Spider-Man, but I don't think I need to do that. Um, Spider-Man 3 sucked. Um, it's the fact that dumbass from um, that '70s show is Venom. Him being Eddie Brock is just I, and now they're making a Venom movie, and it looks like they might be getting it right. At least the casting's better, but Spider-Man 3 is just bad, and you can tell when you watch it that Venom is shoehorned in there. You can tell that this movie was originally going to be Sandman and Green Goblin, the second version of Green Goblin, which could have been fun. As you gotta shoehorn in Venom because the kids they love this Venom these days, which drives me nuts because when I watched the cartoons in the '90s, I was very very entertained by the majority of that series in the '90s. And what I liked was when they got into the alternate dimensions, Madam Web, and it starts with Venom. So you get Venom in there, you get Carnage, Madam Web comes in, and you get all these other things going on. And because Spider-Man 3 was horrible, you can't get into Carnage, and you can't get into Madam Web, and we have to go through another reboot. Carnage is my favorite, and I know there's a lot of people out there who think, wait, what? Yeah, no, I love Venom, but Carnage was my favorite, and I never got to see him on the screen because of this movie. Number 19. I was very, very surprised, pleasantly surprised, when 21 Jump Street came out. 21 Jump Street was far funnier than I thought it was going to be. The Korean Jesus was funny. A lot of the lines in it were funny. I bought the storyline. I bought this whole thing with them being in high school, even though they look like they're 40 years old. I bought the premise. The acting was okay. With Channing Tatum, you're looking for okay. And then when they now started doing a sequel, I'm like, all right, well, they set that up at the end of the first movie, so okay. All right, it shouldn't be too bad. And then it was awful. Just awful. And we'll get into why some sequels are awful with comedy movies as this countdown rolls along, but this one is bad. It's quite bad, and it kills any hope that they're going to do more, which for some people is good news. Some people are going to be like, good, I'm glad they're not going to do more Jump Street movies. There were so many great moments in the first movie, which makes the second one so just baffling and bewildering that they did it. Number 18, and remember, these are disappointments for me, is Spring Breakers. So Spring Breakers was coming out, and it featured Selena Gomez and Ashley Benson and Vanessa Hudgens, and all these girls are going to be running around in bikinis. And I thought, you know what, good idea. And then there's going to be this criminal aspect to it, and to their characters, and to the way all of it is done. And I thought, you know what, this could be worth watching. And James Franco's in it as kind of a sleaze bucket, which isn't that unusual for James Franco in a movie, or just the way James Franco's portrayed in general. But Spring Breakers was as close to unwatchable as I think a movie can get for me, and I still make it through it. Towards the last 20 minutes, I was just baffled at what I was seeing on the screen and how horrible it was, how unpredictably bad it had become, and how ridiculous it got. I thought we were going to come to some Tarantino type ending where all of these girls perished in horrible, horrible manners. That doesn't happen. and sadly, because it doesn't happen, and it's so ridiculous the way they survive, you're like, if your brain's not shut off by that point, well, you're stronger than I am because mine shut off right away. And again, you've got some of the most beautiful young women in Hollywood, and I hated it. So congratulations for making Women in Bikinis boring, and for making a movie that's so beyond stupid. Just I I I can't say enough. And speaking of movies that are just baffling and bewildering, and really, I was so angry. By the end of Righteous Kill, I felt like I would be committing a righteous kill by destroying the video, by ruining all footage of this movie. So I talked in my actors I avoid about Pacino and De Niro and how far they've fallen. This movie, this movie right here is the moment when I realized these two being in a movie together doesn't mean I have to watch it. It is so hammy. Pacino is so hammy and over the top, and it's an unlikable storyline, and it's an unlikable movie with an ending that you just sort of sit there and you're like, well, I just wasted that time. That was a waste. That's too bad. Um, and it is too bad because I remember Pacino and De Niro together in Heat. And I know they can be fantastic together. I know Pacino from Donnie Brasco can be amazing. I know that the work done by De Niro in the 80s, 70s, some fantastic work. Taxi Driver is absolutely amazing. And Righteous Kill is just schlock, and it's awful in it. It's just, yeah, words can't describe how disappointing this movie was. Although it's below this one, and it says a lot that I have a family fun animated movie at number 16. But Finding Dory, wow, Finding Nemo is a fun little movie, and I loved watching it with my kids. And it was one that when my kids wanted to watch it constantly, I wasn't all that upset about because it's not overly loud or brash, and it's not full of squeaky voices like some kids shows and movies are. And so when they said they were going to make a sequel, I'm like, well, okay, all right, I'll bite. But it's really bad, and it takes all of the sweet moments of Finding Nemo and just kind of stomps on them. And Pixar had promised us they wouldn't do this. Pixar had when they were making Toy Story and Nemo and Monsters Inc. and all these great movies, they had promised us they weren't going to start doing sequels. They had promised that they weren't going to do with their movies what Disney had done with theirs. And Disney has taken a lot of very amazing titles and kind of ruined them by making sequels that nobody asked for, nobody wanted, and they're really, really awful. And this one was a terrible sequel. That by the end of it, I'm like, that is it over? Can it be over? I just wanted it to be over, and then it finally was, and then we could all discuss how disappointed we were. Speaking of disappointed, you know, I went into this one with a good impression too. I thought, you know what, the beach, that'll be good. Leonardo DiCaprio. There's some craziness in this. This'll be all right, right? This'll be okay. This won't be that bad. I know I've seen some reviews, and the reviews say that it's bad, but it's not going to be that bad, right? It was worse than that. I mentioned when I talked about Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5 that there was a video game part in the movie that ruins it. This is the ultimate movie with a video game part in it that just it takes a movie that up until that point I'm kind of like, oh, do I enjoy this on any level or do I not? And it ran it right off the cliff, and I could not say or do anything at that point to defend the movie, to defend any direction, or to find any point in finishing. I finished the movie because when this video game part shows up, you're so close to the end that you're like, all right, this is abysmal, like House of the Dead abysmal, but it's a you've kind of got to finish it. You're like, okay, I'm gonna. This is an endurance test. This is a test from whatever deity's up in the sky or wherever it is to see whether or not I am capable of withstanding this fresh hell that is on my television. So I will sit through the beach. And I did. And I don't feel like a better person for it or any stronger. What kills you doesn't necessarily make you stronger. Sometimes it just makes you angry. Speaking of which, let's get into the next one. And it's funny because I write Star Trek, and people watching this are going to be like, which one? Well, which one could it be talking about? Is it Generations? No, Generations isn't on the list. I didn't have any expectations with Generations when I saw which Star Trek actors had showed up. Then Leonard Nimoy was like, nope. George Takei had been, no. And so you're left with Chekhov and Scotty and Kirk, and it's just sort of, well, these three guys are here. Star Trek Generations was just, and not only that, but nothing's more maddening than the Nexus. And I was angry during the movie in the theater when I realized the huge plot hole in the Nexus. You can leave at any point in time in history you want to. Any point, anywhere, anytime. And he leaves at the exact moment when like already millions of people have died, planets have blown up, the whole galaxy's in chaos, but it's the point where you got to kick him in the face. The first movie that Plinkett ever did, first Plinkett review they ever had from Red Letter Media, is about Star Trek Generations. I don't need to take that one down, but they also did one on this one because it is very disappointing, and it's disappointing for this reason. So bad, good, bad, good, bad, good. This was a formula of Star Trek. So you have Generations, which we can agree is bad. First Contact, which is kind of a guilty pleasure. First Contact has the Borg. The Borg automatically make everything better. Then you have Insurrection, which is bad. It's basically just a fluffed up episode of the show. It's not particularly strong. It doesn't really do anything for any of the characters. Geordi seems bored. Worf's bored. Everybody just seems bored and old at that point. But Nemesis was supposed to be the good one. This was supposed to be, and it's Romulans. You're like, okay, we're going to get into Romulus. Romulus, to me, always seemed like a criminally underutilized world in the movie universe. I'm not talking about in the series, in TNG. The Romulans were awesome. I absolutely loved how cold and calculated they were. I loved their warbirds. Their warbirds and their giant ships. I loved Klingon warbirds. This movie is just, here's some ugly guys who are from the homeworld, and they're not really Romulans, and they're rejects. And here's Tom Hardy as a young Picard. Picard had hair when he was young, but in this movie, again, there's a version of a review of this on Red Letter Media, where they basically say, yeah, Picard had hair when he was young in the series, but in the movie, because they think you're stupid, they have to make sure that the young version of Picard is bald as well, because they really want to drive home that this kid is the young version of Picard. And it's not even believable, and it's very unpleasant, and it's really, really violent. And I think this is where the Star Trek universe started trending towards really excessive violence, almost to make up for the fact that I think someone knew somewhere this storyline's really stupid. And then they tack on Data sacrificing his life just to sort of give some emotional heft to the end of the movie, and it just feels dumb. So you're sitting there like, that doesn't... Why can't he beam out? Oh, whatever. It's fine. It doesn't matter. It's just Data, because Brent Spiner's done with the character, and now he has to be some dumbed-down version of Data. Number 13. You know, when The Hangover came out, I didn't expect to really like it. I didn't expect it to be a movie that I was really a big fan of. So when they announced they were making Hangover 2, I thought, that could work again. I couldn't figure out how they were going to do this. So you have The Hangover, which seems like a very unique one-time, one-off thing. And then they're going to do it a second time. And Hangover 2 didn't work. And it didn't work because it was really mean-spirited. It was a very mean movie. It's very dark. And it's very... it just makes everybody just seems unlikable in it. The first movie, I came out of it laughing pretty hard at it and having a good time with it. I thought it was really enjoyable. But the second one, again, Hollywood makes a movie and they're like, hey, we made money on this. How can we make more? And this happens. And it's just awful. And I never saw the third one because why in the world would I want to watch more of that crap? Um, Now this one's going to surprise people only because people are going to say, "Well, what did you expect?" Notice I stopped and started again. Fantastic Four reboot. So they came out with a Fantastic Four, what, 15 years ago now, which had Chris Evans, Jessica Alba, and just some fun stuff in it. I enjoy the Fantastic Four movies. I enjoy Fantastic Four, and I enjoy Rise of the Silver Surfer. You know why? Because Fantastic Four is silly. It's silly. It's fun. It's ridiculous. How they become superheroes? Yeah, it's the sun. Because why not? It's really really ridiculous. Um, it's a movie that didn't take itself seriously, and I think knew it was silly and kind of embraced that. I know the Fantastic Four movies were disappointing to people, but Fantastic Four is not serious canon. It is not these serious characters. When they did the reboot, they played it off that way. The reboot is dark. It's depressing. It's like Zack Snyder had made it. It's a bewildering storyline that just doesn't doesn't hold up. And it's funny because I really like Kate Mara. Kate Mara was fantastic when she was on House of Cards. I really liked her on there. She's not Sue Storm. There were people who got upset that they hired an African American to be Johnny Storm. I didn't get upset about that. I don't care if they're adopted brothers and sisters. I could care less. But make him likable. Johnny Storm should be the likable center of the movie. And he really isn't in this. And then the way Doctor Doom is kind of created is kind of stupid. And there's a lot of moments in the movie that I was like, well, that's a different, dark, depressing way of doing this. And I came out of this movie at the end of it just saying, wow, that was a really depressing universe that they created for themselves. That's amazing. There's a lot of moments where you have to kind of forget how security clearances work for military installations, and you have to kind of just shrug everything off because, well, that doesn't make sense, but oh well, it's fine. And it just got to be a little too much for me, and it's too bad because again, this is a property that I think could be fun, and I think you could do a fun movie. I think Fantastic Four, to make it work, you have to approach it like Guardians of the Galaxy, where Guardians of the Galaxy is not treated the same as the rest of the Marvel Universe. Fantastic Four shouldn't be either. Fantastic Four also should belong to Marvel. Fox should stop making movies about Fantastic Four because they don't do them right. This was a Fox one, right? Yeah, same universe as X-Men and Deadpool. These characters aren't showing up in a Deadpool movie anytime soon. Number 11, and ending off this part of the countdown. And this is funny because again, I go to a theater, and this is why this movie's number 11, because I went to the theater to see Mortal Kombat Annihilation because I loved the first Mortal Kombat. And I thought that'll be a fun popcorn movie. I can just go and turn my brain off. Every now and then I like to watch a movie where I can just turn my brain off. This one was too busy just messing with me. The acting is awful. The special effects are awful. The story is terrible. The fact that all of the characters from the first movie are replaced by new actors, and we're just supposed to be like, oh, okay, all right. The first Mortal Kombat is no retelling of Gone with the Wind. It's certainly not some epic, rousing, wonderful story of heroism, but it's somewhat fun. It's campy, and there's some good one-liners in it. Mortal Kombat Annihilation accidentally makes one-liners that are cringeworthy and funny for that, and they decide that people should travel through Earth on hamster balls. And it was when I saw the hamster balls that I swore out loud in the theater. And that was when my friend that I was sitting with and myself, we both started making hamster ball jokes that went the rest of the movie. That we knew it was bad, but we'd already paid for our tickets, so we didn't leave. We just laughed through the entire rest of the movie at how really awfully horrible it was. Um, I've watched the original movie probably dozens of times. Again, when my son was young, it was one of his favorite movies to watch. I didn't have a problem with him watching it. It's fun. It's a bunch of people kicking each other for an hour and a half, and none of it makes a whole lot of sense. But again, Christopher Lambert and Bridget Wilson and other members of the cast make it watchable. Annihilation didn't have that. It's like Annihilation isn't a mention of the Emperor coming down to destroy the universe. It's just annihilating whatever franchise this could have had. And it's really bad. It's so bad that I think if I had to watch one or the other, I would rather watch the Street Fighter movie with Jean Claude Van Damme, which is not on this list because I knew it was going to be garbage when it came out. Annihilation just it wrecked any hope I had for any Mortal Kombat anything. The other funny part is that in terms of video games, I really enjoyed playing Street Fighter. I hated playing Mortal Kombat. I don't know what it is. I just never thought Mortal Kombat was very good. And it turns out in the movies, I was right by the second one. That Mortal Kombat just, eh. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Again, this is just one man's opinion. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.